What happens when two stars who haven't crossed paths in over a year suddenly reconnect, and one of them makes a move no one saw coming? After 18 months of silence, Yoo Jung's unexpected gesture towards Song Kang has reignited a wave of emotions, speculation, and surprise across the internet. Was it a simple act of kindness? Or something far more personal? Let's uncover the full story, right here, right now. With red carpet revealed. For 18 long months, there was only silence. No interviews with their names crossed. No candid photos together. No accidental encounters on red carpets. Two actors who once dominated headlines with their dazzling chemistry seemed to have retreated into separate worlds. Fans whispered, speculated, and replayed old clips from their drama until the pixels blurred, but nothing new ever came. Then, out of nowhere, one small gesture shattered the quiet. And on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, Yoo Jung posted a picture to her social feed, a bouquet of pale lilies, a handwritten note beside them, and a caption so simple it felt cryptic: "Some stories are never really over." Within minutes, eagle-eyed followers recognized the background, the backstage hallway of the theater where Song Kang was rehearsing for his new stage project. The detail set the internet ablaze. Was it coincidence? A message? A reunion in disguise? By nightfall, the comment section had become a storm. "Is this for Song Kang?" one fan wrote. 18 months apart and she still sends flowers, another asked. The hashtags Yoo Jung gesture and Song Kang reaction trended simultaneously across Asia. "I was in the newsroom when the story broke. The editor's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Reporters hovered over screens replaying her post as though decoding sacred text." To outsiders, it was just a photo of flowers. To anyone who remembered the spark they once shared on screen, the laughter, the unguarded glances, it felt like a secret door opening again. The next morning, Song Kang arrived at rehearsal carrying those same lilies. Paparazzi caught him smiling faintly, a rare softness breaking through his usually reserved demeanor. When asked about the flowers, he said only, "A gift deserves appreciation," before disappearing behind the stage doors. Single line fueled thousands of think pieces. For the first time in over a year, their names appeared in the same sentence again. Their story had always read like a screenplay written by fate. They met on the set of When the Sky Remembers You. Neither was expecting the phenomenon it would become. The drama's tender stillness, the way their eyes met under winter light, it made audiences believe that love could be both fragile and fierce. Awards followed, then endorsements. Then months of fan edits that blurred fiction with reality. And then, just as suddenly as it began, they vanished from each other's orbit. Rumors surfaced of scheduling conflicts, creative differences, unspoken disagreements. Outsiders said otherwise, that they'd promised to stay silent until time had done its work. Time, it seemed, had done more than that. It had reshaped their worlds. Song Kang dove into darker, more complex roles. Yoo Jung took a hiatus to travel, disappearing from the spotlight with a quiet grace that made her absence feel poetic. Every so often, reporters asked about the other. Both answered with practiced smiles and non-answers. The industry moved on. Until that Tuesday. What fascinated me wasn't the gesture itself but the precision of it, how the moment unfolded like a scene from a film meticulously storyboarded in advance. The note, the flowers, the location, it was intimate yet public. Specific yet deniable. It allowed speculation without confession. When I reached out to her agency for comment, they replied. It was a simple congratulatory message to a colleague. Yet no one believed it. The phrasing, colleague, felt sterile, almost protective. As though it were covering something delicate. Fans remembered everything, how Yoo Jung once said during a behind-the-scenes interview, "Sometimes, when you act with someone who understands silence, words become unnecessary." They replayed that clip beside her new post and swore the meanings overlapped. For the next week, every entertainment outlet dissected the timeline. Analysts traced their social media activity, her last online presence 18 months earlier. His occasional likes on mutual friends' posts. Their shared brand affiliations. Patterns appeared where perhaps none existed. But the human heart thrives on patterns, it looks for connection even in shadows. A week later, Song Kang's agency released official photos from his play rehearsal. In one, he's adjusting a stage light. Behind him, in the background, stands a figure with long hair under a cap. The resemblance was uncanny. Hours, someone zoomed in. brightened the pixels, and declared it was Kim Yoo Jung visiting quietly. The photo went viral before anyone could confirm or deny. By now the story had transcended gossip, it had become myth. Commentators debated whether such gestures counted as publicity stunts or acts of sincerity in an industry built on illusion. Yet what people really wanted was romance, not confirmation. The possibility of reconnection was enough. One evening, I found myself rewatching their final interview together from 2 years ago. In it, they sat side by side, laughing over coffee while answering fan questions. There was a pause when the interviewer asked what they admired most about each other. Yoo Jung had said, his patience. Kang had answered, her courage to be honest. Watching it again under the new light of her gesture, those words sounded prophetic. Every generation has its pair of stars who seem destined to circle each other, never colliding, but never fully drifting apart. For Korea's younger audience, they were that pair. I visited the theater 2 days after the incident. Outside, fans lined up hours before showtime, many carrying small white flowers in tribute. The air buzzed with quiet excitement, like the edge of a storm. One fan told me, "We don't need them to date. We just need them to be okay." It struck me how affection for celebrities often blurs into personal longing. People project their own hope for closure onto the lives of strangers. When the curtain rose that night, Kang walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. For a brief moment, as he bowed, his eyes flicked toward the audience balcony. I couldn't tell what he saw, but his smile changed, becoming softer, private. The show, someone posted a blurry photo taken from that same balcony. A woman wearing a beige trench coat was standing near the exit, applauding quietly before leaving early. The internet needed no confirmation. Evening, Yoo Jung's social feed lit up again, not with words, just a picture of a theater program, folded neatly beside a cup of tea. No caption. None was needed. By dawn, headlines screamed, "Kim Yoo Jung spotted at Kang's play." News anchors debated the meaning of her presence, while fans celebrated as though the reunion had already been declared official. Yet beneath the frenzy, something gentler was taking shape, a collective sigh of relief that two people once connected by art might have found a way to acknowledge each other again. Behind closed doors, sources hinted that her visit was spontaneous. She didn't tell anyone from her team, one insider said. She just bought a ticket online under another name. The secrecy made the gesture even more powerful. Next afternoon, she was photographed leaving her agency building. Reporters called out questions, none answered. Only that quiet smile again. Mind that disarms noise without a word. Meanwhile, Kang uploaded a rehearsal snapshot with a caption, "Grateful for every light that finds its way back." Fans immediately connected the dots. It was unstoppable now. Variety shows invited commentators to analyze their body language evolution. Entertainment podcasts broke down timelines as if they were decoding ancient texts. But amid the chaos, Butler narrative emerged, the human truth about distance, growth, and the courage to reach out again after silence. I spoke with one of their former directors, who had worked with both. "They're similar," he said thoughtfully. "They carry emotion quietly. They feel too much, they withdraw. Maybe that's why the world noticed when she finally moved." Words lingered. Perhaps what fascinated people wasn't celebrity romance but the vulnerability it mirrored. Everyone has someone they've lost touch with. Everyone wonders what might happen if they reached out again. Over the following days, the frenzy only grew. Fans flooded online polls asking if the two should collaborate again. A cosmetics brand they once co-endorsed saw sales spike after resurfacing their old commercials. The digital age turns memory into momentum. One act of nostalgia can rewrite algorithms overnight. Yet through it all, they stayed silent. No confirmations, no denials, just a delicate dance of timing and restraint. That silence became its own form of communication. Rather than any statement. One night, an anonymous insider posted a cryptic tweet, "Something beautiful is in rehearsal again." Within minutes, it was deleted. Not before screenshots immortalized it. Speculation turned feverish. Were they preparing a new project together? A cameo? Or was rehearsal simply a metaphor for renewal? The idea of second chances, circles closing, resonated far beyond fandoms. Feminists wrote essays comparing their story to the ebb and flow of modern relationships, how people drift, transform, and sometimes, quietly, their way back. As the buzz intensified, An unexpected calm settled around them. Yoo Jung retreated from social media again. Kang finished his theater run and vanished for a short rest. The spotlight searched for new drama. But their silence lingered like a held breath. And yet, it was during that lull that the most striking moment arrived. At a charity gala for the Arts Foundation that had supported both their early careers, Kim Yoo Jung appeared unannounced. He wore midnight blue silk, hair swept simply. Eyes luminous beneath a chandelier glow. As cameras flashed gracefully through the crowd, greeting donors, smiling politely. MC's voice echoed through the hall, "Please welcome our surprise performer for tonight, Mr. Kang." The room froze. She looked up from her glass just as he walked onto the stage, tuxedo crisp, expression unreadable. For a heartbeat, the noise of the world stopped. Began reading a poem, a dedication to artists who had weathered solitude. His voice trembled slightly when he reached the final line, "Some connections outlast time itself." The applause that followed was thunderous. But it wasn't the sound that mattered. It was the glance that passed between them, soft, almost imperceptible, yet charged with the weight of 18 silent months. That was all it took. By morning, every entertainment page carried the same still photograph: Kim Yoo Jung, hands clasped, eyes glistening, Kang, mid-bow, gaze tilted toward her. 1,000 interpretations bloomed, none complete. As I watched the scene replay across screens, I thought about how simple gestures, flowers, a seat in the balcony, a fleeting look, can ignite entire narratives. Perhaps that's what keeps audiences captivated, the possibility that even in a world curated by management teams and PR strategies, something genuine can still slip through. Dawn broke over Seoul, washing the streets in pale light. The frenzy online had just begun. For the two at its center, the noise probably felt far away. Maybe they had already said what needed saying, without ever uttering a word. And as their photo continued to ripple across the globe, a caption kept reappearing beneath reposts. After 18 months of silence, a single gesture was enough. The photograph from the gala refused to fade. It lingered on news feeds and magazine covers like the aftertaste of a beautiful dream: Kim Yoo Jung's faint smile beneath the chandeliers, Kang's poised bow. Two lives intersecting again under lights that once defined them both. No words were exchanged publicly afterward. No interviews. No clarifications. But for fans, that silence spoke louder than anything they could have said. For the next few days, the city itself seemed to hum with speculation. At cafes, people lowered their voices to gossip. "Did you see the way he looked at her? Maybe they've been talking all along." Even casual viewers found themselves caught in the unfolding story. As if romance, real or imagined, offered a rare kind of hope in a world too busy to notice small miracles. I spent that week chasing whispers, talking to stylists, managers, anyone remotely connected to the event. Refused to comment. But one assistant, voice hushed, confided, it wasn't planned. She didn't know he would be there. That, of course, made the story even more irresistible. Behind the scenes, Kang had agreed to perform at the gala months earlier. His poem was chosen by organizers, not by him. Fate, it seemed, had orchestrated a coincidence too perfect for fiction. Or maybe fiction had simply caught up with reality. When he was asked later by a journalist about reading that particular line, "Some connections outlast time itself," he smiled softly. "It felt true," he said. It wasn't a confession, but it was enough. Meanwhile, Kim Yoo Jung posted a picture 2 days later, an uncaptioned snapshot of raindrops sliding down a car window. To her fans, the meaning was clear: melancholy, renewal, maybe peace. The comments filled with interpretations. But she never responded. First, I wondered if their silence was strategy, letting the world build its own mythology around them. But the more I spoke to people who'd known them, the more I realized that it was simply who they were. Both had learned to guard their inner lives against the noise. What the audience perceived as mystery was, perhaps, a form of survival. And yet, something subtle was changing. Weeks after the gala, Kang was seen leaving a small cafe in Hanam-dong, a scarf wrapped around his neck. Hours later, someone posted a blurry photo of Kim Yoo Jung entering the same cafe through a side door. Whether they met or missed each other didn't matter, the idea of proximity was enough to ignite headlines again. But beneath all the sensationalism, There was tenderness in the way people talked about them now. The narrative had evolved from speculation to admiration, from "are they together" to "isn't it beautiful that they still care?" In a media landscape obsessed with scandal, this quiet respect felt revolutionary. A month passed. Spring unfolded across the city, soft cherry blossoms, pale sunlight. The same colors that once framed their most famous scenes together. Received a tip from a friend in the industry. The two were both listed as guests for an upcoming award ceremony. Their first shared appearance since the end of their series nearly 2 years earlier. The anticipation was electric. Social media prepared like a festival. Fan accounts changed banners. Hashtags trended days in advance. Threads speculated about seating arrangements. The night finally came. The red carpet glittered under camera flashes that never blinked. Kang arrived first. Dressed in black velvet. Composure sculpted into every movement. He smiled politely, signed a few autographs, and disappeared inside. Moments later, she arrived, a vision in pale gold, eyes calm, lips curved in the faintest of smiles. The reporters called her name, their voices colliding with a chaos of shudders. And she turned just once, offering that luminous, steady look that could quiet a room. And then, whether by coincidence or design, they ended up sitting at the same table. For a while, the cameras caught only fragments, a glance during applause, the slight lean of conversation, a laugh too brief to decipher. But to the internet, these fragments became an entire love story retold in slow motion. When the Best Drama Award was announced, the project that had once brought them together won. As they stood side by side to accept the honor on behalf of their team, a wave of nostalgia swept through the audience. Applause lasted longer than usual. As if the crowd itself understood the gravity of that moment, the circle closing, the story looping back to where it began. She thanked the viewers who believed in sincerity. And he added softly, and those who never stopped believing in connection. It was almost too poetic to be accidental. Afterward, backstage, they were photographed greeting each other formally, no embrace, no touch. Just two people smiling with quiet affection. But one photo stood out. As she turned to leave, he reached subtly, as though to adjust her sleeve that had slipped from her shoulder. The gesture lasted a second, yet it sent hearts spiraling across the internet. By the next morning, the phrase "sleeve moment" trended worldwide. I watched it unfold like a deja vu of all great screen romances, how one gesture, fleeting yet human, could speak louder than rehearsed dialogue. The internet may exaggerate, but it rarely invents the emotion that drives its obsessions. What people saw wasn't scandal, it was recognition. The following weeks, their lives resumed, at least outwardly. Yoo Jung began filming a new series in Busan, a melancholic romance about two people reunited after years apart. Kang signed on to a film adaptation about time and memory. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. A production assistant from her set mentioned seeing her smile at a question about her co-star. She said she's been learning how to play the piano for a scene. Assistant recalled. Then she laughed and said someone used to tell her that patience is rhythm. Fans immediately found an old clip of Kang teaching her a piano fingering during their first drama together. Within hours, that old video climbed trending charts again. A ghost resurfacing from the past. The lines between art and life blurred further when Kang's new film released its first teaser, a solitary man listening to a voice on tape repeating, "Do you still remember me?" The voice, according to fans, sounded eerily like Kim Yoo Jung's. Whether it was coincidence or collaboration, no one could prove. But that's the beauty of modern myth-making, it thrives on what cannot be confirmed. I reached out again to one of their former directors. The same man who once described their connection as quiet electricity. This time he laughed softly when I mentioned the ongoing buzz. "You know," he said, "people think stories end when the cameras stop rolling. But sometimes the real story begins when nobody's watching." His words stayed with me. Summer unfolded, their paths seemed to diverge again, different cities, different projects. The cycle repeating. But the tone had shifted. Instead of separation, there was peace. They no longer needed to explain or hide. Whatever existed between them, friendship, memory, something unnamed, had evolved into something grounded, almost sacred. Then came the surprise that nobody saw coming. Late one night, without fanfare, a streaming platform uploaded a new short film titled Still Us. The description read simply, a story about two people finding each other after time and silence. Within minutes, fans realized the names in the credits, Kim Yoo Jung and Kang. No press release, no promotion, just a 20-minute film quietly dropped online. It opened with a city drenched in rain. Two strangers walking separately through neon reflections. Her character leaves a note on a cafe table, his finds it hours later. The note says, "If you're reading this, you waited long enough." The film ends with them crossing paths at dawn. Smiling without words. Viewers cried. Critics called it a love letter disguised as cinema. Others saw it as closure. An artistic echo of everything that had happened in real life. When asked why they reunited for the project, Yoo Jung told a reporter, "Sometimes these deserve endings told in light instead of words." Kang added, "Some silences are worth breaking." The world erupted once more, but this time, frenzy felt different, softer, more reverent. It wasn't about gossip anymore. It was about gratitude. People were simply happy to see them share a frame again. To witness the quiet symmetry of their journeys. Following weeks, both actors disappeared from the public eye again. No new updates. No press tours. Just calm. But everywhere I went, cafes, bookshops, social media, I saw their story retold in essays, edits, art. They had become symbols of something larger, the possibility of grace in an industry built on noise. When I finally sat down to write this piece, I realized it wasn't just about a gesture, or flowers, or a reunion. About endurance, the way two people managed to preserve something genuine amid the machinery of fame. Sometimes, connection isn't a headline. It's a gesture that refuses to fade. Months later, while attending another unrelated premiere, outside of them again, separately, as always, yet strangely in sync. She laughed with her co-stars, he posed for photos with quiet humility. For a brief moment, their eyes met across the crowded room. She raised her glass slightly. He smiled. Then they moved on. Like two constellations that had drifted apart but still belonged to the same sky. Outside, the photographers shouted, "Sing light and noise." Inside, there was stillness, a kind of understanding that no flash could capture. That night, as I walked back through the city, past a billboard showing their faces from stillness. Tagline read, "Some stories never really end." Beneath it, the reflection of passing cars shimmered like moving stars. Maybe that's how their story will always exist, not in declarations or scandals, but in reflections, glimpses, echoes. The world may spin forward. The headlines may fade. But the image of that quiet gesture, flowers, a balcony seat, a look across a room, will linger in memory like the afterglow of a song long finished. In a business built on illusion, there's felt like the rarest thing of all, sincerity. And as fans continue to whisper their names together, half in hope, half in nostalgia, the truth remains beautifully simple. After 18 months of distance, one unexpected move reminded everyone that silence isn't always the absence of feeling. Sometimes, it's the space love needs to breathe.